You might have heard of the saying, losing the battle but winning the war before. But what does this actually have to do with Yu-Gi-Oh? Of course, it's nice to be able to always win the individual games you play, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether a match is won 2-0 or 2-1, since both still count as the same win overall. This video is going to be a guide on how it may be favorable for you to actually concede individual games in order to have a better chance of winning the overall match. Just as a quick disclaimer before I continue any further, when I say concede, I don't mean the type where you collude with an opponent to determine the outcome of the match, since that's against the rules. My name is Tcg Sam, and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh 101, where I'll share tips and tricks that I've picked up with my 7+ years of experience playing Yu-Gi-Oh competitively. If you want to become a better player and see better results in the tournaments you participate in, then this video is for you. With that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter if you lost one of the 3 games in a match, as long as you get to 2 game wins before your opponent does. And that's what I want to talk about today. In Yu-Gi-Oh, note that you're allowed to concede a game at any point, and it may be surprising to hear that it's actually beneficial to do so under certain circumstances. Now you might be wondering why you would ever preemptively concede a game, because you technically don't lose until your life points hit 0. However, in the modern game of Yu-Gi-Oh, just a few reasons why it may be beneficial is that it can be nearly impossible to get back into a game after your opponent has already gotten set up, or it's obvious that they'll be able to go for lethal damage during the current or the next turn. You may also be thinking that you could just get quote-unquote lucky, or have your opponent mess up in order for you to win a seemingly unwinnable game. Of course, while that's always possible, I want you to keep an open mind as I talk about why it may not be best to count on that happening in the long run. Now, there are 2 main scenarios under which you may find it beneficial to concede a game, and I'll be going over them now. The most common reason players will concede a game is to conceal information about their deck. Most of the time in tournaments, your opponents will have no information on what deck you are using or the specific cards that you are playing in your deck. Keeping them in the dark about your strategy for an extra game may cause them to side in cards that are suboptimal against your deck, take out cards that are strong against you, or just cause them to be caught off guard by your specific tech choices. For example, if your opponent has gone first in game 1 and set up an insurmountable board, and you know you have no way of breaking through it, by conceding the game before playing a single card, you have the advantage going into the second game. It's as if you started the match by winning the dice roll and got to choose whether to go first or second, except now you have the knowledge of what deck your opponent is playing, whereas they don't. Not to mention, you also get access to your side deck with this information, meaning you can put in powerful cards for the matchup and take out cards that aren't impactful. This can make a huge difference since you'll be able to make all the correct decisions, whereas your opponent will be left guessing as to what to do. Another example would be concealing certain tech cards you have access to. For example, if you play Nibiru the Primal Being in your deck and your opponent has set up a board that your Nibiru in hand can't beat, keeping it hidden for future games can be incredibly beneficial since it can either catch your opponent off guard if you really do play Nibiru, or force them to respect it even if you don't. With all the possible tech cards in a given format, your opponent will be forced to respect some and ignore others, making it more likely they'll be more effective. So to summarize, there's no need for you to reveal information about your deck if the game is unwinnable to begin with, but rather it's beneficial to actually keep it hidden in order to give yourself a big advantage going into the next game. Now, the next most common reason why you'd want to concede the game early is due to time concerns. Now, I don't mean finishing the match faster so you can go get food, but rather so you don't have to deal with the end of match procedures or time rolls. At the time of recording, the end of match procedures are generally hated and you want to avoid them as much as possible. For those of you who don't know what the end of match procedures currently are, when time in the round is called, the player whose turn it is finishes their current phase and then checks to see who has the higher life points at the end of the phase to determine the overall winner of the game. Most of the time, this will lead to cheesy life point altering cards that would normally not be good, otherwise being used to win a game you weren't supposed to. You also won't be able to control whether your opponent plays these life-altering cards or takes longer than needed just to burn time to get a win. However, by conceding an unwinnable game early, you give yourself the most time possible to finish up the match within the next 2 games. This way, you can avoid losing otherwise winnable games to something as silly as being lower in life points despite having an overwhelmingly advantageous position, or losing because you had to think about your plays for a little bit longer. I've personally witnessed too many games where this has been the case, and until Konami decides to change these time rules, they're definitely something you want to keep in mind when deciding whether it's worth preemptively conceding a game or not. So the next time you're facing an essentially unwinnable game state, be sure to consider these two things. Ask yourself whether it's more beneficial to conceal information about your deck, or it's more beneficial to give yourself more time to be able to win the next two games so you don't end up losing to time. Just keep in mind that you're not going to want to concede every game where you're at a disadvantage, only if you're absolutely sure or close to certain that you have little to no chance of winning that game. What you've seen here today can be both an incredibly powerful part of your strategy, yet can act as a double-edged sword if you misjudge the state of a game. Now with that being said, that's going to wrap up this quick lesson in Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 today. If you think I missed anything or you want to see a specific topic covered in the future, then be sure to let me know in the comment section below. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video, so if you did, I ask that you please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because it really helps keep me motivated to keep posting more videos like this. With that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.